ninth episode of Mngxitama on Sunday, the news that did not make the news. Today, we come live from Mabaleng, just a few walks away from Southgate. We want to apologize for starting late. You remember last week we came live from my downtown Joburg, where we hang with the people. My is a very nice, vibrant space, and today also we're here, Mabaleng. As we say, it's not far away from Southgate. It is very close to Soweto. People come out here and hang and have conversations as well. Mostly what will happen today is I will have a conversation with two BLF leaders. Deputy President of Black First Land First, Comrade Zanele Lwana, and the chairperson of Black First Land First in the Western Cape, in the Republic, leader, Mpemnyama. You need to work hard to liberate that part of the country. Comrade Ncedisa Mpemnyama is the chairperson of Black First Land First in the Western Cape, a country which has basically declared itself independent from the rest of us. The job of liberating that territory rests on your shoulders. So I think where I want us to start, having said last week, one of the big things of last week was I asked for my money from that fellow, right? And there's a video that went viral. Can you see it? Okay, check it out, that video. We asked our money back from the people who went to the July. You know what? Here is the thing. Okay, I surrendered my last 10,000. These guys are enjoying life. They went to the July. It's called handicap. They watch horses. So I'm saying there's a video that went viral. It's really, really great. It expresses my anguish. But where I want us to start today is to just quickly say something about Nelson Mandela. I mean, it is the 100 years since Mandela was born, and everybody in the media it's about Mandela. The ANC has chosen again to try to milk the name of Nelson Mandela. The left, most of black consciousness and Pan-Africanists and some new woke people are on the anti-Mandela tip. How should we remember Mandela? Is this Mandela is a sellout versus Mandela is a saint? Way of remembering Mandela, maybe that's the question I want us to just look at very quickly. Because I think some of us have reached a point where we say Nelson Mandela was not a hero in the revolutionary sense. But Nelson is gone. Nelson has done well for white people. It is not our duty now to go on and attack Nelson's memory. Our job is to ask another question. What have white people done to reciprocate Mandela's magnanimity? Isn't that a question? So how should we, let me just start with you, Deputy President. What do you think about this? Mandela is a saint, Mandela is a sellout, simplistic dichotomy.
I think it's very important for me to reflect on how political parties in the country have handled this. So you would find that prominent leaders such as Julius Malema, who is the leader of the economic freedom fighters, they have been vocal on how Mandela served the interest of white people and therefore is a sellout. But there is total silence on how they are giving, for example, DA political power, which is giving power to white monopoly capital to govern our lives today. So on the one hand, you would say Mandela is a sellout, but you are silent on your sellout ways today. And society must not call you out on this particular thing. So I think the lesson from this whole debate is that, fine, Mandela might have not done enough when he was still alive on this earth, but you seem to be repeating some of the key mistakes you call out, that of the of the old man. And I think at the center of that is the issue of political power, is the issue of clear alliance with the likes of Johan Rupert, is the threats to occupy ABSA and never occupying ABSA, is the marches to the JSE only to meet with captains of capital in the country, but not in any way representing yourself as a revolutionary movement that is going to change things.
So, Deputy, what you're saying is, often the people who say Mandela is a sellout, and Mandela is gone now, they themselves today, their political conduct is exactly what we will call sellout.
Absolutely.
So they're hypocritical.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Mpemnyama?
Firstly, I want to greet the viewers. I want to pen a piece that says it's no longer revolutionary to hate or despise Nelson Mandela. Because what has been happening is that the new woke people and the supposed black left parties on the left-hand side of the political spectrum like to go on this Mandela bashing, right? Which is informed by the status quo, the living conditions of black people, how they are living. To say that Mandela and the ANC, which was in power during the CODESA negotiation process, did not negotiate from a position of power. Instead, they ceded power away, right? But now, what we're seeing is that that is true, right? But the political parties that are in power right now are unable to imagine outside of the sellout of Mandela. What does it mean to struggle as a movement and not replicate the mistakes, known or unknown, that the ANC made during that time? You'll find that there isn't a different political ethic that these people have. Instead, you try to mobilize disgruntled young people around Mandela selling out. But all the schema of the whole sellout project of Mandela is still incorporated in how you view a new political movement towards.
I want to interrupt your narrative, and we are going to hold you to the piece.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to finish.
Yeah, you say the title of your piece is.
It is no longer revolutionary to hate or despise Nelson Mandela or to call him a sellout.
It's no longer revolutionary to hate, despise Nelson Mandela or to call him a sellout. So that is a piece we expect from you.
Yeah.
But I want, and maybe you also, very shortly, because we don't have a lot of time, we need to keep moving. On the same point of Nelson Mandela, there is a view which I subscribe to, that the white world, globally, have elevated Mandela too high. Now he's almost seen as part of their saints. Now they can't stomach it. There's the first thing. I use the phrase, they want to reduce him to nigger size. Because they've elevated him too high. They've used him. It was good for them that time, initially. But now they no longer have the use for Mandela. They want to cut him to nigger size. And specifically, I argue, and I've seen some people making this argument, that it's got to do with the Project 2019. Project 2019, as we all know, is how London and white monopoly capital wants a coalition government of the ANC, DA, and EFF. Now, Mandela's role and why they want to cut it is because they believe as long as the ANC is associated with a Mandela with huge stature, it benefits the ANC. So you attack Mandela so that you can weaken the ANC. So in a sense, therefore, those of us who are attacking Mandela saying it's a sellout, we are not aware that we are pushing an agenda which is no longer our agenda. So in a sense, the wide world again has hijacked our legitimate rage against Nelson. So this is one perspective that I thought we should come out. That Nelson Mandela is under attack from the global world, our enemies, because they don't want him to be amongst them as one of their saints. Secondly, because for them to succeed in their coalition, Project 2019, weaken Mandela to weaken the ANC. Remember, the first time the EFF attacked Mandela was when they were in London. So the idea that the attack of Mandela is engineered by Robin Renwick is not far-fetched.
Yeah. Also, I want to add on this. You see, Lewis Gordon has a talk wherein he says that the white world can't stomach a black father, speaking about the sociology, discipline. That W.E.B. Du Bois is one of the founding fathers of that discipline. But when you go to tertiary institutions or any post-high school, whatever, learning school, you'll hear that actually it's Durkheim it's Marx who are the founding fathers, and then they go on and on, because they can't stomach that there is amongst the global icons a black person, someone who has fathered, a discipline. I think with Mandela, a similar thing is going on now. That it's no longer useful for Mandela to be amongst the top layer icons, because he is putting blackness into that stratosphere. And I think it's happening in that way, that Mandela must be lowered for political means, so that to keep whiteness pure again. And I want to think about this idea again and again, so that I can find, but it's still at the moment still sketchy.
But you BLF people are very strange. When everybody loved Mandela back then, you said Mandela is a sellout. Now Mandela is gone. Everybody is saying Mandela is a sellout. You are saying, wait, don't do that. I mean, do you have any closing comments on that?
Yes, no. I think we move from a principled position, and that position is that not of being seen or found to be in any form of alliance with our enemies, and our enemies is white people in this country. And I think an important reading needs to be made on how, as liberation movements, including the PAC, for example, and the ANC, how we constantly identify sellouts within the black community, and we invest all our energies in that to fighting each other. But you would find that the outrage, for example, to F.W. de Klerk and many other people who killed our people, is not necessarily at the same intensity in terms of how we invest energy against our own people. So it's up to us to rehabilitate the meaning of Tata Nelson Mandela. And you, the president as well, you have been very vocal about there was once a revolutionary Nelson Mandela, and how can we look into that history and what lessons can we draw from that? And absolutely, what people are taking the life of Nelson Mandela today, we are not going to agree with them. It's our sellout if such exists.
So you all out there, woke people, Pan-Africanists, black consciousness, pseudo-revolutionaries, it's no longer cool to attack Nelson. Let's find ways to protect him now that he's been attacked by whites, but let's all go back to his life and find the Nelson Mandela, the revolutionary, because there was a Nelson Mandela revolutionary. Comrades, one thing that hurts me is how people are using our icons against each other. I see now there's a whole thing, Biko is smarter than Mandela. I mean, we must not do that. They're all our icons, and all of them have their failings, and we must find our way to remember them. We know the ANC is abusing Mandela. Let us not, because we hate the ANC, find ourselves also hating Nelson Mandela. We will continue to come back to this theme of Nelson Mandela as the month goes on. You are one of the people, 26 people who are arrested. This man is out on bail. He's one of the 26 BLF members who were arrested doing something meaningful on Nelson Mandela Day. We went out to demand that Thuli Madonsela investigate the corruption of white monopoly capital on Nelson Mandela Day. You see how you can use Nelson Mandela meaningfully. We know, we don't have time to go to Beyonce and all that goes with that. But I want us to go to another theme. I saw your movement, our movement, at the beginning of the week, asking for money, donations. Before, I even say something about that. You guys are supposed to be sponsored by the Gupta, so why are you asking for money? So there's a whole thing out there that, BLF is sponsored, it's got Gupta money, so why are you asking money from the public? And by the way, I should say, the public is responding very positive. We must firstly thank our black people for this, but let's just deal with this and then we'll close that thing as well.
Yeah. I think also the issue of money, right? There's been these assumptions that BLF is funded by the Guptas without any sort of evidence. But anyway, we accept any money from any black person. But we want money from black people so that we can all own our revolution. So that we don't get money and start living right and talking left, like, for instance, EFF, with the Mazotti money. Now this, for instance, the EFF was saying that all the monies that people got from the Guptas in league with the former president, Zuma, is money of corruption. But now they claim money of corruption from Mazotti, and they are very stubborn.
Defending him even.
Defending
And thanking him.
And thanking him.
Thanking a
publicly.
mafia,
A
Italian
mafioso.
mafia.
So we don't want to get to that level. Let people, if you really truly believe that BLF is the tool to get us to freedom or closer, bring your money here. We can't have a black middle class that talks on Facebook and WhatsApp and all these social media platforms without engaging financially with us. Okay, you can hide because you are afraid, but at least give us something to oppose racists like AfriForum, because they have funded those people. They have legal, aspects that they use to demonize us and the media and all of this. We must push back. It's a dialectical process. White people invest in their racist white organizations, but black people don't do the same. So the dialectic must be a dialectic. Put money so that we can oppose these people, because they are eating away at the body politic of this country, and they are giving us brainwashed views about what is right in this country and corruption and so forth.
Any word from you?
No, I think the call for, in particular, black people to invest and donate to Black First Land First ties in very well in making our movement present in our lives and present in our communities. And to do work and to campaign and to be there entrenched in the struggle of our people require a lot of commitments so that we can be able to do the work that we have committed ourselves in as a movement. And also just to make it clear that white monopoly capital, if they were even to decide to fund us tomorrow, their money comes with conditions. Money from prominent business people in the country or all over the world, it comes with conditions. And we believe as Black First Land First that our black agenda is clear as a blacks only organization, and that if our people are able to identify with what we are doing as a movement, as the chair of the Western Cape has said, we are going to be able to own our struggle. We are not going to do things without thinking twice, and we appreciate it very much, the response that we have got from society. And we must just continue with the little that we have, contribute to the revolution so that we may create a country that respects us as black people.
Also, the call must not just be for South Africans, it must be a diasporic call to other black people who are all over the globe, whether you are in Tanzania, whether you are in Nicaragua, whether you are in South America, whether you are in the States, in Jamaica. All black people must find each other, because we are all globally under the attack of white supremacy. It matters not where you are located on the globe, but if you are in Sri Lanka and you believe that you are doing the right thing, whether you are Maoists in India, come and support, give us money, let us fight this, because it's a global system. It demands of us to be internationalist in our understanding of how to fight back. So all black people all over the world must support BLF.
We are going to keep on coming back to the theme of funding revolutionary political movements. If we don't get funded by you, black people, who's going to fund us? In fact, Deputy and you, Comrade Mpemnyama, BLF is asking for money right now just to survive, to pay rent and so on. If we were to tell you, the people that come to our office as volunteers get no money at all. Our rental is in huge areas, we're in trouble, right? But there is a 600,000 who must still find to register. 600,000. We're going to have to come back to black people and say to black people, you want to have a political representation in parliament that represents you, not Mazoti, not Johan Rupert, not the Guptas, that represents you. Who must pay for it? You must pay for it. And it's easy. We're not asking for a lot of money. We're just thinking, somebody gave us a quick calculation. If 20,000 black people give us 50 rand each, that's already R1 million, right? 50 rand, 20,000. 50 rand, think about it. That's all we need to keep going, and that will also give us a good boost in the electoral process. So we're going to come back to you and say, let's start this campaign. Let's raise the 600,000. Let's put in those 50 rands, those 100 rands. We don't need a lot of money. Let us build an independent, revolutionary black movement. We can do it. But if you don't give us money, you are leaving us in the hands of the Italian mafia. Julius Malema is a captured man. When he said pay back the money in parliament, we did not know that time he was doing it for Mazotti because Mazotti paid for him. Parliament is captured today. Captured by Bidvest, the ANC, captured by Mazotti, the EFF, captured of course by Big White Capital, the DA. We don't want to be captured. Help us to remain independent. So we're going to come back and we're going to find ways to fundraise. BLF must become the movement which is being paid for by our people. That is our pride and that's our hope. Now, comrades, let us go on to another matter. And I'm going to push us now. Duduzane Zuma appeared twice in different courts in the same week. I mean, this does not happen in South Africa. So the big question is, can Duduzane Zuma get a fair trial? Let's just raise these 2 points or 3 points. One, when Duduzane Zuma arrived in the country, remember, he was arrested without a warrant of arrest for over 3 hours at the airport. There was no warrant. It is unlawful. Number two, they put leg irons on him, shackle him like a slave. And the appeal court has said, if you're not violent, if you're not a flight risk, that must not happen. Another unlawful act. Thirdly, we know that it is AfriForum that is instigating, putting pressure to get Duduzane arrested and to be put in that situation. So, that is a big question. Do we think Duduzane Zuma can get fair trial? And then maybe we can quickly add, because we've been asked as Black First Land First, our job is to defend any black person who come under attack. And AfriForum is attacking Duduzane Zuma because they're taking President Zuma. BLF has come out and defended Duduzane. People who are with the side of white people are saying, what about the victims? So BLF has been projected as if we don't care for the victims because we just want to defend the Zumas. So let us clarify this, what is going on here. We'll start with you. If you have any comment on this Duduzane, will he get fair trial? What does BLF say about the victims? People who, by the way, it was an accident. Also the language used, they say Duduzane killed people. As if it's like in Marikana, you know, where our current president called the police to kill people. Duduzane was involved in a car accident. He himself could have died. It's an accident. But now, white people are using that. You know, I mean, AfriForum, will come back to AfriForum, but just like, let's deal with the Duduzane matter. Yeah.
This week, right, on ENCA, Malungelo Boy does an insert talking to, I think, an uncle of the Dube family. That man is disgruntled. It seems as if they are using that fact to milk and to still project the Zumas as people who are, or Duduzane, someone who doesn't care about the plight of those people. When we saw Duduzane, I saw someone who is dealing with the fact. Now, and also there was an article by Miriam Tam from Daily Maverick. It was shambolic, gutter-level journalism. You can see that these people have already made up their minds that this man must go to jail to settle political scores, right? The article even used, it's disgraceful when you read it. It uses the note that the mother of Duduzane left for the president. And I don't know how ethical that is. How did they get hold of that note? And the journalists, the aggressive manner in which the journalists were conducting themselves outside Randburg Magistrate shows that these people are merely just rubber stamping a view that they already have, that this man must go to jail, instead of allowing the two families to come together in an African manner to solve the problem and to speak and find closure to a very painful episode. No one can ever celebrate the loss of a black life, any one black life that is lost. It's a travesty. But let us create a blacks-only solution to that problem. And for me, that means the Zuma family and the Dube family must come together outside of the influence of any white racist organization. And the people who think that the solution is only through the media, have not seen that this is also politically motivated to lynch this young man, because some people are just basic jealous that this is a young man who's achieving in society, and also to use him to get to the former President Jacob Zuma in order to settle their political situation.
I think the chairperson has covered a lot of what we wanted to say. But I think it's very important to put it out again to society that the judiciary in the country, we know that it's captured. And it is captured to serve the interest of white monopoly capital. And when I talk about this, I remember about what Johan Rupert said at the height of mobilizing society around radical economic transformation. And he came out to say RET is a code word for theft, for example. So that means all of us who stand for radical economic transformation in society, we are already treated as criminals. We are already treated as thieves, and we are already called thugs, and many other labels are given to us on the basis that we present an agenda that is going to take from white people because they have stolen from black people. And also we know that those who do not push the agenda of white monopoly capital in the country, the media is being used to create a particular perception, to lynch the people. The public already treats those individuals with absolute bias, that they are criminals, that they are unethical, they are incompetent. But we never see this being waged against proponents of white monopoly capital, such as Pravin Gordhan, for example, such as Ncedisa Jonas, such as and many other people who in the political space in the country have always appeared as not themselves threatening the entire establishment. So Duduzane Zuma is not going to get a fair trial in the country on that basis, that organs of the state and the courts are being used to punish those who are proposing for a different solution to our problems.
So I mean, it's over politicization of the criminal justice system. If the courts were objective, the magistrate where Duduzane appeared Monday with those leg irons on, she or he would have said, the law does not permit this. Why is this man put in shackles like this? Already you can see there's big bias. That's why the proposal is find an alternative dispute mechanism which will make sure the victims are given reparations and restitution. Duduzane's wrongdoing, if it were to be found, is not used by the enemies of black people such as AfriForum. We're not going to allow it. I mean, AfriForum has done this with Julius Malema, by the way. It has done this with Grace Mugabe. It has done this with President Zuma. It is busy funding bogus leaders of the Khoi and the San to declare themselves not part of black people, to divide us. BLF is not going to allow AfriForum to divide black people. We are coming back to court on the 23rd of August. We are telling them now, stay away, AfriForum. And just staying back to that issue of funding BLF. People say BLF is a small organization. That's not true. Give us funding and you will see how many people we can bring. Because already a lot of our people wanted to come to court, but we have no means to support them to come to court. So on the 23rd, we are going to bring our people to defend other black people against AfriForum. It's no longer about justice. It's about a situation being hijacked by AfriForum against other black people. Now, comrades, another sad thing happened, a different thing. On the day of court, one of our leaders, Comrade Lindsay, was attacked by Stratcom physically. What has happened with that matter? Firstly, let's just quickly summarize what happened to Lindsay and where are we right now. Comrade Lindsay Masdorp is the national spokesperson of BLF. He was attacked by a Stratcom white racist journalist in court in Randburg. So we just need to know where are we right now.
Yeah, so people would remember that when we came out as Black First Land First to say that in particular white journalists in this country are not journalists, but they are mere agents of white monopoly capital to lynch in particular individuals who advocate for a just and different society. And at the center of that is the land to be returned to black people. And we remember how the South African National Editors Forum went to court and got a court order and a suspended sentence against our president and our movement. So SANEF, which is the mouthpiece of white monopoly capital Stratcom agents in the country, is using that court order to further censor the actions of Black First Land First in this country. So I just wanted to make that clear as well. What then happened in outside Randburg Court, a white male journalist who works for Johan Rupert's channel, and that is Cakenet, attacked our national spokesperson. And journalists who were there were not outraged by that, because the attack was on a national spokesperson of a rival movement, which is Black First Land First, and therefore that should not be reported and should be treated as something that did not happen. So we are very disappointed in that. But anyway, our national spokesperson has opened a criminal case of assault against the white male who works for Cakenet, and we are going to monitor the process very carefully as Black First Land First, so that our leader can also feel and be happy that the justice system is going to be able to deal with this matter. We know that SANEF, and in particular white monopoly capital and white journalists who are agents of Stratcom, they are trying to tarnish again the name of our movement, so that again institutions of the society can be used, for example, to block our movement from contesting elections, to create a particular perception around our movement. So that is where we are. And a lot of you, I'm sure, heard the message from our president that not even the courts are going to stop us as Black First Land First, and we are going to continue to fight and stand with black people wherever they are.
Also, the racists must be aware we're coming for them. There is no way that we can live in a country where police, black police, will want to arrest you when you are responding to a racist. And then they say, no, the racist has a right to be racist. And also the media. It's very saddening, the state of journalism in this country, where journalists are self-obsessed to such an extent that they automatically think that they are also white people, right? They operate at a colorblind perspective. For instance, the day when we prevented Kali Krill of AfriForum from speaking outside Randburg, they were saying we must give him also his right. What they call that thing? Freedom of expression. We told them, and from now on going forward, this is our position. It must be that any racist that they want to interview in a space with us, they must go and interview that racist elsewhere, not around us. If they wanted to interview Kali Krill, they should have gone to his farm there, where he abuses black people, not to come symbolically. Also, white people have a symbolic presence. When they enter a space, they banxilisa ground abantu abamnyama xa kukho umlungu uyababona bayabhayiza. And then ngoku sizothetha ngalomba kaDuduzane, kukho umlungu ofikayo apha uhamba yedwa ukhamaxhaka uzowuthethela usapho olumnyama olukwingxaki eyenzeke between abantu abamnyama. Siyambuza ufumana phi igunya engumlungu lothethela usapho lwabantu abamnyama olasapho lungekaveli lizithethele ngokwayo. Abantu abamnyama funeka bavuke emaqandeni. Akho mlungu noba uqeshe umama wakho kanye tata wakho kanye umalume wakho ofuneka akuthethele. Umuntu omnyama funeka azithethele, funeka siqhele ukuzithethela singabantu abamnyama. Sisuse abelungu kwizinto ezichaphazela thina. Akho mlungu nokuthethela ngenhlupheko yakho. Akho mlungu nokuthethela ngokuswela ingqesho kwakho. Akho mlungu nokuthethela ngengxaki onayo notata wakho. Zonke ezi zinto zizinto funeka sisithethe sisodwa. And aba belungu be-AfriForum naba be-DA apho sibabone khona uzawuqhawuka unobathana. Asifuni bantu abamnyama, asifuni nabantu abamnyama. Kodwa aba belungu bakontrola abantu abamnyama, oHelen Zille, bonke oKali Krill nezatshomi uzawuqhawuka unobathana. Whether simbona eGugu lethu, whether simbona eSentini, sadibana nawo.
kodwa ndivenye into ekhombeza kuthiwa umlungu wafil forum ndithuke wa nimthuke wa asizuyigqibeza. Okay, comrades, thank you. I think that the message is clear.